Before we start, if you guys enjoy spooky stories about rules, horror, or time travel for the time being, be sure to drop a subscribe if you enjoy this content. Let's get into the story. Hi, my name is Samuel, but Sam is fine too. I've been working for the last couple of months as a web developer, and I recently got a raise. This has allowed me to finally move on from my parents' house, in which the situation has just become simply unbearable. However, it was difficult to find a house or apartment which doesn't leave me drowning in debt. But I did come across one. It was a big house with 2 floors and a backyard, all for only $3,000. Yeah, I had to double check when I read that price too. I thought that this was a total fake or someone was trying to pull a prank, but hey, I gave it a try. I was just expecting some dude answering the phone, giving the direction of the house in which we will meet, and then just to find out that it was a park or something, or maybe it was a scam, like a setup for a robbery. However, a woman answered the phone. I will refer to her as Alex. I asked about the house I found on the webpage. She just gave me an address to go and talk about the house. She said something about meeting me in person. I thought it was just a person selling her grandmother's house or whatever, that people get kind of special about a place. Anyways, we agreed to meet at 3 p.m. Obviously, I checked the directions on Google Maps to find out if it was an office building or something shady. The next day, I took a bus to her office, and it took me about 15 minutes to get there. As soon as I arrived, the guard at the front desk told me where her office was. She received me and asked if I wanted something to drink, which I refused. I sat down across her desk, then she started asking questions about me, my work, family, etc. After a moment of silence, she sighed. Look, Sam, you're a good kid, but this house is not made for a person like you. I suggest you save your money and just go and buy another house. What's the problem with this one? I asked. Well, it is what many people would call a problematic house. By law, I'm forced to tell you what happened there, but it will be better if I show you. Then she opened the drawer and took a big folder, put it on the desk, and slid it to me. I opened it, and inside were documented police reports, murders, missing people, and drug raids. And that was only the first 3 pages of this dossier. Meanwhile, as I read the file, she continued talking. The reason the house is so cheap is because I just want to get rid of the place. I was hoping to call the attention of some mob or, somebody who wants to use the house for whatever illicit operations they may be wanting to use it for. I cannot sell the house to any company or demolish the building. It just happens to be an antique house, so the government has forbidden me from doing that. I won't stop you from buying it. I lost too many years of my life with that place. If you want it, after looking at this dossier, you can have it. It's up to you. That really gave me a bad feeling about this place. The idea of spending another year with my parents was the only thing I needed to make my decision. It was tough, but I decided to accept. For the next 2 weeks, we did all the paperwork and agreed to meet at the house. Alex refused to let me in before I signed. She told me once I entered, the house was my problem. Finally, the day arrived. I met her at the house. She was sitting at the door drinking coffee from the store. Well, Sam, here you have it. She extended me a folder. Here are all the documents that state that this is now your property. And here are your keys. Thank you, I replied. I guess I need to buy some furniture now. Well, about that, most of the previous owners didn't change the old ones, and they're still good to use, but if you don't like one, just throw the ones that aren't listed in the documents out. She said goodbye and walked away, and I just rushed to the door. But before I could stick the keys in, she screamed to me, "And you should sign the document that's in the folder." The inside of the house was dirty. Years of accumulating dust left it in a very sordid state, but the furniture was good, like Alex said. On the left side, there was the living room with a large sofa and 2 single chairs around a table in front of a homey fireplace. Across of this room was the dining table, a large 12-seat piece of wood with candlesticks. On the right side was the kitchen. It was big enough for 10 people to be working in it at the same time. I sat down on one of the single chairs in the living room. Then I opened the folder and left the documents on the table. I looked around within this big dossier and I quickly spotted the one she told me to sign. It was an old piece of paper, like the ones you see in old movies when the character has to sign one of those contracts. I signed above the bottom line with my name on it. On the paper, this was what was written. "Greetings. If you are reading this is because you are the new owner of the property. I'm sorry to tell you that this is not a welcome letter to tell you about how great your life will be at this house. In fact, this is a formality between the owners of the houses. If you decide to sell it, you will hand this paper to the next owner. There are some rules you will need to follow. The consequences of breaking these rules are high, but I assure you that if you follow them, there is nothing to worry about. Rule number 1, the butler and the dog. This is more a presentation than a rule. In the living room, you should find a silver bell. Ringing it will call the butler of the house. Refer to him as Mr. Bach. He will do anything you ask as long as it is related to house maintenance. He will not ask for any money for it. However, he might request and object every other month. Give the money to him. Nothing bad will happen if you don't pay him, but he will not attend your calls again after that. On the other hand, the dog is a Saint Bernard. You may give it any name you wish. Whisper and he will come to you. It is important to know that these two entities do not get along, and if I had to choose between the two of them, I would choose the dog. Rule number 2. The guests. There is a chance that unexpected guests will come to the house. You can open the door and talk to them. However, it is forbidden to bring them into the house. You may let the ones you respect visit you, but if you break this rule, you must leave the house and never return, for the house is now under their power. Sometimes you might find them already inside the house. You may talk to them if you would like them to leave, or if they have been staring at you without blinking for more than a minute. Please call Mr. Bach and tell them that the guests are to be escorted from the house. Mr. Bach will handle it. Do not look. Things could get a little gross. Rule number 3. The stairs. It takes 12 steps to get to the second floor. Please keep that number in mind. If you count 14 steps, keep going normally until 20, and the 21st will be the second floor. However, if you do not reach the second floor after the 21st step, run. It is following you, and you do not want to know what happens when it catches you. After 50 steps, you will reach the second floor, finally. Keep running down the hall. Do not enter or look into any of the rooms, and you must jump through the window at the end of the hall. Rule number 4. The bathroom. It is in front of the main bedroom on the second floor. The one on the first floor is safe. Knock on the door every time you want to enter the room. If a lady named Madeline answers, wait 5 minutes and then enter normally. But if any male voice answers, please call Mr. Bach. If no one answers, you may enter. Check the water in the sink. If the color is normal, you can use it like a normal bathroom. If red, break the mirror, open a little cut in your hand, then put it under the stream until the water returns to a normal color. If 1 minute passes and the water is still red, leave, wait for 1 hour, and try again. If the water is green, fill up the bathtub, immerse yourself completely, and wait until it empties. Then, you may proceed using the bathroom as normal. Rule number 5. The basement. If any of your belongings are lost, you will find them in the basement. Do not go in there alone and without any light source. Please call the dog. Once you are there, you will find a great dark spot on one of the walls. Order the dog to search for your item in the dark and wait for him. If another dog comes out, kill it. If the dog does not come back in 5 minutes, leave the basement and try again another day. Do not worry about the dog. Rule number 6, the study room. It is the first door after the stairs on the second floor. Inside, you will find a great library. Enjoy any book in there and use it as a workspace. If any of the books fall off the shelf on their own, take it and read it until the book closes by itself. Then put it back on the shelf. Do not refuse to read it or take it away. The book will take offense to that. Also, while you are in the study, wear a watch with the current time. Be sure to check it with the one that is in the study room. Make sure the times are the same and do not leave this room if the times do not match. Rule number 7, the backyard. After 5 p.m., there is to be no one in the backyard. There is to be nothing happening in the backyard. You will not hear anything coming from the backyard. Rule number 8, the main bedroom. This is the only safe place on the second floor. Do not be outside of this room from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. If you happen to be outside, I hope they do not find you. Sleep with the dog if that helps you. Rule number 9, the house. As long as your expected guests are on the first floor, there will not be any danger at all. But get used to the fact that they will forget about the dog or the butler. And last but not least, do not leave the house for more than a month. Sincerely, Arthur V. December of 1809. I've heard of these rule stories, and I'm guessing Alex did too, and that she was trying to make light of the situation. I sort of laughed at these rules, and they kept me entertained for a few minutes. Everything seemed so ridiculous after all. I decided to explore the second floor to see what was there. It was great to have a new house. While going up, I looked at my phone, and I started texting one of my best friends. I told them we needed to throw a party here. I was so distracted that it took me a few seconds to notice I was supposed to reach the second floor a few steps before. Then I felt it. The coldest breath on my nape. The walls started to rot, and I ran in a panic. I could hear that thing. It was coming for me. And I knew that each step that it took meant one less step for myself. I ran and I ran up the stairs, and after a minute of going up to it, I finally reached the second floor, and I kept on running. My first thought was to enter a room, so I stopped at the first one on the left. The door was open. Inside the room was a man tied to an electric chair. He was begging for help, but the chair turned on and fried him to a crisp. I looked away, and I ran away. The screams continued to echo through the hall. It did not sound human. I felt like the hall was constantly extending as I tried to race to the end of it, but I finally reached the window and I jumped through without thinking, for that was what the rules told me to do. For about 5 minutes, I fell into endless darkness, a void of nothing. Sounds faded and were muffled. Then I landed on a couch. The couch on the first floor. In my panic, I took the keys and left the house, and I ran back to my parents' home. I'm now in my own room at my parents' house. I tried to call Alex. She didn't pick up. I don't know what to do next.